Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in.
Not my beat.
Lynnell Willingham with us for Overreaction Tuesday. Lynnell, two questions. One, why are you incapable of sitting in the center of the camera? Thank you.
There we go.
And two, it's not like you can't see it. It's right in front of you, right?
I know.
The screen's like right there.
Give me a break. First of all, honored to be coming on before Kyle Kuzma, who has been in his duffel bag recently, efficient scoring, getting buckets, getting others involved. So happy to listen to that when I hop off.
Yeah, definitely. And then my second question is, like, are you cold?
It's freezing. I'm getting over a little bug I had over Thanksgiving break. I'm whipping back into shape, though.
Okay.
The dog is off the leash because I feel like I've gone rogue since the firing of Jack Del Rio. So
he's gone rogue. Well, this certainly shapes
I'm back
up for a hell of an Overreaction Tuesday. So I guess hit us with the first take. For those that are new to the segment, Lynnell comes on. He gives his takes. I judge whether they are overreactions or not. We talk about the substance of them like real grown adults. And then I tell him goodbye, and he yells at the rooster tomorrow.
normally how it goes.
Yeah, that's normally how it goes. So first take. Fire away.
Not even really a take to start. I just want to give a message to the fan base.
Okay.
For what this next 4 to 5 month period is about to be, and I guess you could really look at it as the next calendar year. There is a lot of turnover that's going to take place within this organization, talking about the Washington Commanders here within the next 12 months, from coaches to scouts to players. I think everyone from here on out, we got to exude patience, right? Like, this is not a quick fix. I don't think this roster can be turned around in one offseason. I don't think this team can all of a sudden be a 9-10 win team next year. I think they're a lot closer to the bottom than what we all realize. And I know defensively their woes this year, we'll see for the rest of the season whether it was on coaching or not. I think it's a personnel issue that is going to have to get addressed in the offseason. And the next 5 weeks should be about figuring out, one, obviously, what your quarterback's going to be, and then who on this roster right now can be here moving forward in a multitude of different pieces, whether or not it's in the role of a starter or a quality backup, because they don't have either, I feel like, on a lot of spots on this roster.
Overreaction. That was
Yes.
a take, and it is an overreaction. I think the narrative / the pendulum / the whatever other word you want to insert here has swung way too far in terms of the evaluation of talent on this team. This team is poorly coached, specifically on defense. It is horrendously coached. You have guys being asked to do way too much. You have guys, I mean, some of it is injury or roster construction by design now because you've made trades, for instance, like Casey Tuhill is overextended because he's not meant to be a starter. But if you can get, or he's not meant to be
No, he's not meant to be a starter. I think you had that right there.
He's not. He could be a starter if he's starting next opposite, like on a good defense, opposite of Montez Sweat, right?
I don't trust Casey Tuhill to set my edges.
Their design on how they set edges is also terrible. But this defense was pretty good with James Smith-Williams opposite of Montez Sweat last year. He's a better edge setter, so like maybe it's a stylistic thing, right? James versus Casey. But point is, like, you don't need two studs defensive ends. You need a really solid football player on one, and you would really do better to have a stud on the other. They could go draft or acquire a stud with their $80 million of cap space, which could be as much as $100, depending on what they do at certain positions. And they've got, we assume, safely 3 top 40 picks. And who knows, maybe if they decide Sam's their guy and they have the 3rd pick and they don't really love, let's say May and Williams go 1st and 2nd and someone else wants to trade up for a quarterback that they don't like as much, you could trade down and you might wind up with 4 or 5 top 40 picks. Like, it's not unreasonable with the cap space potential, endless potential to be coached better and draft picks that they are better next year. Like, I have no idea if Quan Martin's a good football player. I have no idea if Emmanuel Forbes is a good football player. I really don't know if, like, Cody Barton could be a pretty, like, serviceable middle-level starter football player. Like, he's played a lot better as of late. What happens once he's comfortable playing behind Allen and Payne? And, there's more clarity in what his job is in the system. Offensively, like Terry and Jahan, I think they're better than what they're showing right now. I think obviously you get 2 to 3 offensive linemen that are significant upgrades, and that's a game changer. A stud tight end, like, because of the draft capital they have and the cap space they have, this is all possible to me. I think you're going to deal with some growing pains because there's going to be new coaches with new systems. That is inherent. But to think that they can't win 9 games next year, I think is setting the bar too low. Like, we'll see what they do, but I think it is very, very possible.
Yeah, this is just one of those things where we disagree. I think you're starting from scratch darn near on the defensive side of the football. Like, I can count probably on one hand the guys that I would probably bring back defensively as a starter or as
to be
like
fair,
a key
Lynnell,
backup.
there's only 11 on the field, and you do have 5 fingers.
I'm talking about key backups as well, because I think some of your guys like a KJ Henry or an Andre Jones probably going to bring back Cam if he's not going to ask for top 5 safety money.
I would agree with that.
That's a fair bet to bring back. I think your young pups, you're going to bring them back by nature because they're under contract, talking about Andre Jones, KJ Henry. So I guess we're at 3 if I add just Andre Jones and KJ Henry, because Casey and James are free agents, correct?
Correct.
So depending on – this all depends on what the new people think, but if it's my team, I'm probably going to let those 2 walk and allow Andre and KJ to fill the role that they've been playing the last 2 years. And they're kind of similar. KJ's more like James. Andre's more like Casey in terms of their skill set. One's better.
Andre Jones was a nice story, and I hope he can continue to develop, and it'd be awesome if he did. KJ Henry's the more important player. He's my 4th defensive end, or my 3rd defensive end. I would then try to bring in someone in free agency and draft a guy.
I agree with that, and I think Andre Jones right now is being asked to do something I don't think he's too comfortable with. He doesn't look like he's comfortable at all rushing out of a 3-point stance. Like, the get-off's not there. He's slow getting out of the stance, and it's not like he's a bad athlete.
He was just 7th round pick for a reason.
Yeah, he's raw and has some tools that you like, but he needs to be sharpened. Quan Martin, I'm excited to see him in like an extended role if they decide to like play him differently. I know he's done a lot of work as like the slot, and he's done good work on special teams, but like maybe trying him as your deep post safety. I'm interested to see that for like the final 5 weeks of the season.
Hasn't been great when he's been there so far this year. He's had some mistakes in the post, but he's a young player who's asked, and this is the coaching thing, right? They gave him so bleepity bleep much in the preseason, and they were like, "Oh, he's a smart kid; he can handle it." And it's like, I don't know, can we do one thing well as opposed to 7 things poorly? And I don't put that on Quan. Like, that's on the coaching staff for asking a young player who's got to learn the league to learn 5 different positions. Like, that's ridiculous. And we said it at the time. Like, and maybe some of us were a little bit more benefit of the doubt of like, hey, is this a good idea? You question it as opposed to being like, this is a bad idea. In hindsight, terrible idea. So can the new staff take Quan Martin and say like, you're the nickel, or you are this, like, you're a post safety? Either one, I think Quan Martin can be a good football player. He wasn't overdrafted. Like, 2nd round is where most people had him.
And I think you'll get an idea of this over the next 5 weeks, which is why, I think it's so important. I guess I was a little hyperbolic saying 5 because I haven't even got to the D tackles yet. And
the tackles are staying, both because they're good players and because contractually, like, it's a ton of dead money. Although John, I think you can redo and get away with, but like, you're not getting rid of John Allen.
Where we may differ in terms of our team building philosophies moving forward. But the tackles we'll throw in there. I just look at it big picture, and I say defensively, I wouldn't have known I was going to say this in August. They're way further behind on defense than it feels like than they are on offense. And it kind of gets to my next overreaction, which I know me and you are 100%.
Let's finish out the defense real quick because like, Cody might be fine. I don't think it depends on the system, but like, I don't know. 100% you can upgrade there. Like, but is it worth it at middle linebacker? I think the middle linebacker play around this is not actually a referendum on Cody Barton, so I can already feel the comments going crazy of like how, whatever. But like, there's not many good middle linebackers in the league. It's a hard position to play, and there's a reason teams don't invest in it. So if you have a guy who's serviceable, fine. Jamin is a solid football player that if they could just quit asking him to do stuff that's silly, he would be very good.
If he can't cover, Craig, then how can he play?
He can cover. Like, that's the thing. The dirty secret is Jamin Davis can cover. Jamin Davis can't cover Saquon Barkley in space, but neither can any other linebacker in the NFL except for maybe Fred Warner. Like, they ask him to do stuff that's insane on a regular basis. That's the problem. you put Jamin in a box where he plays like a much simpler version of Will linebacker, he's going to have 100 tackles, and he just gets to run and hit people and blitz and, yes, drop into some pretty basic zone coverages, but quit manning him up on the best running backs in the league on a regular basis. Like, that's the kind of stuff where I have a big enough sample size now to say, like, this is not a personnel issue on that particular thing. Like, is it unavoidable sometimes? Sure. But overall, like, the frequency with which that happens, to me, is a coaching issue. But Jamin Davis can cover, and he has done I think the problem, too, with coverage is often when it's good, you don't know unless you, like, watch the tape and grade it out and pay attention to where the ball doesn't go. Right. Because the ball doesn't go there. But you think of how bad the pass rush has been this year, and some of the plays that are made off schedule, the coverage looks worse because the front has been god-awful the last 3 weeks especially, but has been subpar the entire season.
Yeah, I just think Jamin right now, to me, is a better athlete than he is a football player. And I think, sort of to what you're saying, it's on a good coach to come in and try to get the most out of this moldable piece of clay. His fifth-year option wouldn't be getting picked up by me right
I would
now.
not do that.
Wouldn't be something I entertain. But you got a couple of more, well, it's next year to really figure out what you want to do with him. But right. I think the case with Jamin is the case with a lot of the guys on the defense, and I think you make a hell of a point with that. It's hard, and we've talked about this before, it's hard to really assess what they have defensively because they haven't been put in the proper position to succeed. But another problem with this defense is they're just not making plays. Like, you can be in position all day long, and guys got to come up with the football. Guys got to make plays. I don't think they have enough of that.
I agree.
On that side of the ball. And I think that's, to me, the issue and why I would probably tear it down to the studs, meaning if you can get something for John, I get something for John.
I'd have to look at how much dead money there is. Like Duran, it's a non-starter.
Oh, right.
Like the amount of money the dead money on Duran's contract, I need at least 2 first to deal with that cap situation. John, I think, is a different conversation. But like, I guess, like, yes, they need more playmakers, and you'd hope that Forbes and Quan and Jamin has made some of those this year that they have made. You need Duran and John to make more of those. You'd hope you draft another stud. And you need Curl and St. Juice, for instance, to do that more often. Like, that is the problem with those two players. But we'll see schematically. You were going to make an offensive point. I'm going to make you hold on to it for an extra 3 minutes. We come back. Lynnell's next take, overreaction or not. It's Overreaction Tuesday on The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live on the free Odyssey app.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.